Good morning. I want to share a message with you today that is a message of encouragement. It's a message that should motivate you, should give you strength, should give you hope. But through the message itself, you might not get that the whole time. So you have to stay with me all the way until the very end. Okay? Honestly, this is a message that about 3 years ago I stumbled across, and it changed my life. This is hands down the best message that it just opened the door for me. As far as my walk with Christ, it deepened, it increased, it was something I needed. Something I needed to hear. Something I needed to get plugged into my head and in my heart consistently. And so, it's a great message. And if it helps you 1/10 as much as it helped me, then it's good for you to be here today. Now the message, however great it may be, didn't come from the Bible. Sorry. Some of you probably are checking out right now. Don't. It's okay. Stay with me. It's a message that it came from a poem that I had to read about 3 years ago, roughly. A poem titled Dogfish. Anybody heard of it? Dogfish? No, didn't think so. Me either, until I had to read it. It's a very lengthy poem, actually, so I can't share all of it with you this morning. We don't have that kind of time. But it was written by a woman named Mary Oliver, and she was going through some very difficult moments in her life when she wrote this. And so let me give you a little bit of the background of what she was experiencing. I was told that she was walking along the beach. And as she's walking along the beach, she's thinking about some decisions that she just made, some very big decisions. And she's kind of like that Zode in the road. She's at crossroads. She needs to make some very important decisions over the next few days. And she's thinking about all that. She's reflecting upon everything she's already done and where she needs to go, and she's trying to piece it all together. And she's praying, and she's asking God for guidance through all of this. And as she's walking along, she looks out into the shallow area of the ocean, and about 5 feet or so out, there are 3 fish. 3 tiny fish. Those small fish are swimming around, they're having a good old time. You can tell. They're having a great time, swimming around each other and playing and having fun. Not a single care in the world. And as she's watching them, she smiles. But then she looks out about 25 feet or so, and she sees this dark shadow kind of moving like this. Moving slowly, heading towards these 3 fish. That's the dogfish. And as she's looking at this, and she keeps looking at the small fish and looking out at the dogfish, and she's watching what's going on, this is what she wrote. She said, "And look, I think those little fish had better wake up and dash themselves away from the hopeless future that is bulging towards them." I like the way that's written, that hopeless future that's bulging towards them, that they're going to be lunch. That's what she's saying. And she continues. She says, "And I think they can, if they would just quit looking for an easy life." You know, I think you and I, we can dash away from that hopeless future that may be bulging towards us as well, but we gotta quit looking for an easy life. And so that's the message. That's it, in a nutshell. That's what I want to share with you. Quit looking for an easy life. Everybody say it with me. Quit looking for an easy life. Okay, so that's it. But like I said, the message is, it's not out of the Bible, but it's like a box. And when you open up the message, the Bible just pours out all over the place from it. I mean, think about it for just a moment. What did you ever read in the Bible that would make you believe that you have an easy life? I mean, we have joy, yeah. We have peace, yeah. We have love, yeah. But there's nothing that specifically says we're going to have an easy life. I think we have this unspoken belief that when we start to follow Jesus, our life is supposed to be super easy. Actually, it tends to get more difficult if you think about it. And the reason is very simple. When we follow Christ and serve Christ, we begin to swim upstream rather than floating downstream. It's quite simple. You're not going to get an easy life. Just listen to some of the words Jesus has to say. 1 John 3:13, he says, marvel not if the world hates you. John 15:18, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. And John 16:33, in this world you will have trouble. Pretty simple, isn't it? So everybody, I want to make sure you get this, and I want to make sure when you leave here you got this. So repeat after me. In this world, I will have trouble. Let's do it again. In this world, I will have trouble. All right, one more time. In this world, I will have trouble. All right. There it is. Jesus says it. It's so simple. It's so clear. We just got to quit looking for an easy life. You move on to the Apostle Paul. You're not going to get an easy life from the Apostle Paul. 2 Timothy 4:5, he tells Timothy, endure hardship. He's saying, look, Timmy, here's the deal. You're going to have to endure some hardships. 2 Corinthians 1:5, Paul says we share abundantly in the sufferings of Christ. 2 Corinthians 1:8 and 9, he says, we do not want you to be uninformed, brothers and sisters, about the troubles we experienced in the province of Asia. We were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life itself. Indeed, we felt we had received the sentence of death. Now, you ever felt that way? Have you felt that way this week? Despaired of life? You feel like you had the sentence of death placed upon you over the past couple of weeks, over this year? Maybe you have. Maybe you haven't. But if you do, remember to quit looking for an easy life. You're not going to get it from the life of Paul. He continues with his ministry, sharing his ministry. There's affliction, there's suffering. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, starting in verse 4. Rather, as servants of God, we commend ourselves in every way. Now let's read those ways together in responsive reading. Okay, you just repeat after me. In great endurance, in troubles, hardships, distress, beatings, imprisonments, riots, hard work, sleepless nights, hunger. You're not going to get an easy life from the Apostle Paul. Now we go to chapter 11, 2 Corinthians 11, starting in verse 24. He says, 5 times I received from the Jews the 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was pelted with stones. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I spent a night and a day in the open sea. I've been constantly on the move. I've been in danger from rivers, in danger from bandits, in danger from my fellow Jews, in danger from Gentiles, in danger in the city, in danger in the country, in danger at sea, and in danger from false believers. My goodness, everywhere Paul turns, he seems to be in danger. He says, I've labored and toiled, and have often gone without sleep. I know hunger and thirst, and have often gone without food. I've been cold and naked. Besides everything, I face daily the pressure of my concern for all the churches. You're not going to get an easy life from the Apostle Paul. You move on to James. James 1:2. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Go on to Peter. 1 Peter 4:12. Beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery trial when it comes upon you to test you, as though something strange was happening to you. And so what is it saying over and over and over again? It says, quit looking for an easy life. Now, I told you you're going to have to stay with me, okay? Stay with me through this. About 4 years ago, no, about 3 years ago, sorry, I was blessed with being able to take my family on a vacation to Michigan. It doesn't sound like much of a vacation, I know, but we went back home to visit. So everybody else is like, no, it's not a vacation. And it was summertime, so it's still not. It was August. And I'm telling you, humidity must have been like 1,000,000%. It was outrageous. So we spent 5 weeks there in Michigan, and the last week that we were there, my mom has this crazy idea to go camping. Now for her, it's not a big deal. She has this beautiful camper thing, I don't even know what it's called, but she's got a shower, and air conditioning, running water, a stove, an oven, a bed, TV. I'm in a tent, with this tree root under the center of my back, and it didn't matter where I moved, it just like that root was like a 12-foot long root that just covered the entire tent. So it just wasn't very enjoyable for me, especially that last night. And that's what I want to talk about. It was a Saturday night. It was hot. It was hot, and it was humid beyond measure. Honestly, we checked the weather the next day to look back, and it was, I believe it was 94 that night, and humidity was at 96%, somewhere in there. It was brutal. And so I'm laying on top of my sleeping bag. The nice cool part's supposed to be? I'm laying on top of that, and I remember just thinking, I just feel gross. I feel so nasty. And I rub my face, I put my hand back down, and when I did, it was like I put my arm in a bucket of water. It was so disgusting, And so I'm starting to get aggravated, I'm staring at the stars. They're beautiful, but, when you're blinded by heat, it's not so pretty. And so I'm doing my best to get through the night, just to get some sleep, because that next morning, Sunday morning, there's no church there. I want us to have some sort of a service of our own. And so I want to get some rest for this. And I'm trying to prepare in my head, and I just can't seem to get on track. I just can't seem to figure out exactly where I need to be at this moment, because I'm just so icky feeling. I'm just dripping with, well, I don't even know. Hopefully that was sweat only, but you never know. My body could have just been seeping out at that point. Really gross. Yeah. Glad I told you to stay with me. So I get up in the morning. I get up early, 7-ish. That's fairly early. Back then, I was just done with Bible college, so that's pretty early for me. And I go over to a spot at the side of the lake, and I'm sitting on this bench. There's nobody around. It's really quiet, really peaceful. I'm looking out at the water. Water's edge was probably where the chairs are from me to there. So fairly close. The waves are just gently coming up. It's just really beautiful. Sun's glistening off the water. Whatever those birds are, those weird birds near water that make noise, I don't know what they are. They sound great. They sound fantastic. Those birds, whatever they are. I didn't research them. Sorry, I don't know. But it's this wonderful environment. And I'm trying to regroup from the night before, and I'm still just I scratch and I'm rubbing off, all kinds of icky stuff off me. And, it's 7 o'clock in the morning with all the humidity kicking in still, and you got, do we have gnats here? You guys have about 8,000 of them love to be right here for some reason. They don't go anywhere else, but they love to be right in your face. I had that going on. So I'm having a rough morning. You can probably get that already. And the night before, it didn't help me prepare for that rough morning. And it's all calm and peaceful, and I got my Bible open, and I'm trying to just come up with a short devotional of some sort. Just something I can share with my family. We had communion all planned. We were going to sing some songs. And so we were going to have it was going to be a good service, but I had to get my head in the game. Out of nowhere, the speedboat comes whipping around the corner. Not joking. Loud as can be, and he's got miles and miles to just cruise down the lake. I mean miles, because we took a boat trip the previous day. It goes way out, way, way out. He could have cruised around and disappeared, and I would have just said, oh, thank you. That would have been it. No, this guy decides he's got to do all donuts and all kinds of crazy junk right out in front of me. Now granted, it's 100 yards in front of me, but it's right in front of me. And it's 8 o'clock in the morning, it's really loud. And I'm thinking, that is so rude. How rude? My goodness. And I'm like, God, I'm supposed to be still sitting here and preparing for you and getting all this stuff ready. Hey, man, look at all this junk I'm going through. What a horrible, horrible night. Trying to sleep, can't sleep. Probably got an hour of sleep. And I don't even know. I think that was some of that was sweat induced. I'm sitting here trying to get right, trying to have this spiritual moment with you, Lord. I'm trying to do my part. And we got this bozo out here with a speedboat. No kidding. I'm not making this up. A second one comes out. And a third. 3 speedboats within a matter of 30 seconds. And they all seem to be playing tag. I don't know what they're doing. They're just cruising around. One boat fortunately took off, but the other 2 are just hanging out, and I'm getting so aggravated. I'm thinking, how rude. This is so rude. I'm trying to have a spiritual moment here. They're totally interrupting me. This is so totally bogus. Then I began to examine myself. I started to think, if I were in prison, I couldn't just tell the warden, hey, you need to get these guys to quiet down. I'm trying to have a spiritual moment over here, and I can't focus on God because they're too loud. This is not going to happen. And I started thinking, if I have to have a perfect environment to worship God, maybe I don't know what it means to worship God. I have to have this perfect condition, this perfect environment to connect with God at a spiritual level. Maybe I have no clue what spirituality is all about. That really hit me. Some of the people that experience some God in the greatest ways have been in the worst possible conditions ever. Life-threatening situations. And it boggled my mind. And you know what? If they can do it, if they can find God in those moments, then I can do it at a campsite with bullets speeding past me in the middle of a sweat-induced anything, and I can find God in those moments. And so can you, even when situations are not perfect or ideal. The truth is that if we can't find God in those situations, maybe we got a long ways to go. Need to quit looking for an easy life. I love the example from Mark chapter 4, actually Mark 4 and 5. Love the example that we get, the life of Jesus. He gets his disciples to jump in this boat, and they go, have a boat ride. All right. It'll be a nice little mellow trip. We'll go to the other side of the lake. It's going to be great. Oh, joyful. I'm going to get a stick of wood. I'm going to whittle a little bit, sip my lemonade and sweet tea. It's going to be wonderful. Look, Jesus is getting a pillow. He's going to take a nap. Oh, this is going to be so wonderful, so amazing. But we know what happens, right? There's a storm that comes up. Jesus is sleeping. The boat is getting whipped all over the place. The wind's beating against it. The waves are crashing against it. The disciples are panicking. They don't even know what to do. Now keep in mind that these are experienced fishermen. They've lived their whole life here. They've been on that lake. They know how to take care of themselves and how to handle themselves in a stormy situation. The mere fact that they were freaking out so bad leads me to believe that was a pretty intense storm they were experiencing. And they go to Jesus and they shake him and they wake him up and they say, are you even concerned that we're going to drown? Do you even care? And Jesus gets up and he rebukes the wind and the waves and he calms them. He says, peace, be still. But that didn't comfort his disciples. The Bible says they were terrified. They're shaking in their sandals. They're like, who is this man who can control the wind and the waves? So they sit down. And they got this nice mellow boat ride now the rest of the way. Oh, it's going to be calm. It's going to be peaceful again. Okay. Oh, we're all right. Oh, okay. They get to the other side. They don't land at their local Holiday Inn. They land in the Gadarene country. You got this guy who's possessed by a demon. He's running at him. He's screaming, ah! He's running straight at him. Son of God, Jesus, what do you want with me? It's not that quiet moment, is it? There are going to be times when we're not going to have a perfect environment to worship God. There are going to be moments in our lives where there's going to be chaos. And it's going to feel like it's just crazy. But we can find God in those moments. But we got to quit looking for an easy life. Let me share with you Hebrews 11 and 12. We'll close with that. Hebrews 11, we know that's the faith chapter. In Hebrews 11, you find all those first opening verses. You find all the people that would be in the front of a t-shirt. You have a t-shirt. Those would be the ones on the front of the t-shirt. You know their names. You know what they did. Yeah, those first opening verses. They're all over the front side of that shirt. But I want to talk about the ones that would be on the back of the shirt. They did great things also. We don't know all their names necessarily. But let's take a look at what they did. It starts in Hebrews 11, actually, starting in verse 33. Who through faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, and gained what was promised. Who shut the mouths of lions, quenched the fury of the flames, and escaped the edge of the sword. Whose weakness was turned to strength, and who became powerful in battle and routed foreign armies. Women received back their dead, raised to life again. There were those who were tortured, refusing to be released so that they might gain an even better resurrection. Some faced jeers and flogging, even chains and imprisonment. They were put to death by stoning. They were sawed in two. They were killed by the sword. They went about in sheepskins and goatskins, destitute, persecuted, and mistreated. The world was not worthy of them. They wandered in deserts and mountains, living in caves and in holes in the ground. They were all commended for their faith, yet none of them received what had been promised. Doesn't sound like an easy life, does it? Not at all. Now, Hebrews 12 talks about us. So let's take a look at Hebrews 12, starting in verse 1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he had an easy life. No, that's not what it says, is it? No, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured through such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Now let me ask you a question this morning. I know it's easy to lose heart in those times, but let me ask you a question. How many of you consider yourself a child of God just by raising your hand? Any of you? All of you? Listen to the words of encouragement that he gives as God's children. Here it comes, right? Starting in verse 4. In your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. And you've completely forgotten this word of encouragement that addresses you as a father addresses his son. Now, here's the word of encouragement, okay? Here it is. My son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you. Because the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as his son. You want to be a son of God? You're going to go through those moments. There's going to be some discipline. There's going to be times when your heart is going to ache. Paul continues on. Well, I believe Paul wrote Hebrews. Let me just rephrase that by saying the Hebrew writer, okay? Continues on. Endure hardships as discipline. God is treating you as children. Now, if you want to be children of God, you're going to have to endure hardships. You're going to have to endure these hardships as discipline. And he continues. It says, for what children are not disciplined by their father? If you're not disciplined, and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are not legitimate, not true sons and daughters at all. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? They disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, but God disciplines us for our good in order that we may share in his holiness. Now, can you guys think of a time when a parent or an authority figure perhaps gave you a rough time, and maybe you didn't like it, maybe you really, really hated them for it, but later on you realized that it was actually really good for you? And the writer here is saying that if you've experienced that on a human level, you're going to experience that on a divine level as well. And he goes on to finish and he says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. No discipline seems pleasant at the time. I love that verse. It's a tough one to get around. You can't. You have to address that verse head on. No discipline seems pleasant at the time. You want to lose weight? Going to take some discipline. It's not easy peasy. Every time I go to the gym, this verse is in my head. No discipline seems pleasant at the time. I got you. Thank you, Lord. Ask Dave. Dave Williams and I, we work out together. He'll tell you there are moments where we're both crying and complaining about what we're doing, but we do it. And I look at some that are in there, and they're wearing, I mean, know what they're wearing. They're dressed up like they're not even sweating a bit. They got like this nice matching outfit and everything. You know, they're not on the treadmill. Yeah, like doing this. You're like 0.2 miles per hour. Holding on even this, that's really great too. You know, that adds to it. I don't know what that does. That works out the jiggle here, maybe? I'm not sure. You know, 0.2 miles per hour, looking around, not breaking a sweat at all. And it's like, oh, they make it look easy. Maybe they want that. Maybe they're saying, look, this is really easy. But I'm telling you what, when you do it the right way, it's not easy. It's unpleasant. And the same is true in our walk with Christ. We're not going to have an easy life. Great, yes, yes. There's no greater life than following Jesus and serving Him 100%. You're going to go down and up and down and up, yes. But in the world, you get the same thing. And quite often when you're down, there's no hope for getting you back up. So there's going to be those moments. There are going to be times when you are going to be treated as a child of God. And you're going to have to endure those times as discipline. Because the Lord loves you, and He disciplines those that He loves. And no discipline seems pleasant at the time. But it produces a harvest of righteousness and of peace. But we have to quit looking for an easy way. Let's pray. Father, you are so great. Lord, I thank you for